Before Marvel, Netflix, and billion-dollar franchises, actors were fighting for their worth. From Charlie Chaplin to Robert Downey Jr., we're ranking the wealthiest stars who changed the game and who's still cashing in big today. The 1910s were a turning point for Hollywood, and Charlie Chaplin was leading the charge. Known worldwide for his little tramp persona, Chaplin wasn't just breaking hearts, he was breaking salary records. In 1918, he signed a $1 million contract with First National Pictures. Adjust that for inflation, and you're looking at over $20 million today. That deal didn't just make headlines, it redefined what actors could demand. This wasn't about ego. Chaplin understood the value of his work. His films, filled with slapstick genius and emotional depth, connected with audiences everywhere. Studios realized they couldn't replace someone like him, and he used that leverage brilliantly. That $1 million wasn't just a paycheck, it was a signal to Hollywood that performers could dictate their terms. But he didn't stop there. In 1919, Chaplin co-founded United Artists with Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and D.W. Griffith. Now, he wasn't just acting in films, he was distributing them too. This gave him control over his work and a bigger slice of the profits. Chaplin wasn't playing by Hollywood's rules, he was rewriting them. By the 1930s, Hollywood had entered its golden age, and Clark Gable was sitting on the throne. Dubbed the King of Hollywood, Gable wasn't just a leading man. He was the blueprint for how actors could dominate both the screen and their paychecks. While the studio system ruled over most actors with ironclad contracts, Gable proved that star power could turn even the most rigid system into a goldmine. In 1939, Gone with the Wind became the highest-grossing film of its time, and Gable's paycheck was equally jaw-dropping. For his role as Rhett Butler, he negotiated $120,000, a staggering sum during the Great Depression. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $2.5 million today. But the perks didn't stop there. MGM, eager to keep their top earner happy, even paid off his divorce settlement. Gable wasn't just a star, he was an investment, and the studio knew it. His charm and rugged appeal made him a box office magnet. Fans couldn't get enough of his signature grin and larger-than-life persona. While many actors of the era followed the studio's every command, Gable held the rare ability to call his own shots. He picked roles carefully, ensuring that his films would both elevate his career and justify his massive salary. Clark Gable might have been the king of his time, but Hollywood's royalty had to evolve with the industry. By the 1970s, the studio system that had once controlled actors like Gable was a thing of the past. In its place came a new era of cinematic power players, with Marlon Brando leading the charge. If Gable showed how a star could command respect, Brando took it a step further. He showed how to turn that respect into a financial windfall. Brando's career-defining moment came in 1978 with Superman. While playing Jor-El for just 10 minutes of screen time, he negotiated a $3.7 million paycheck plus a cut of the film's profits. The total? An unheard-of $19 million. This wasn't just a paycheck, it was a masterclass in leveraging influence. Studios were willing to pay whatever it took to secure a name like Brando's, knowing his involvement could add instant credibility and box office draw. His deal for Superman wasn't a fluke. Brando's earlier success with The Godfather had already proved his ability to reshape Hollywood economics. Refusing to settle for flat fees, he insisted on contracts that aligned his earnings with a film's success. This approach didn't just change his bank account, it altered the way stars negotiated their worth. Where Gable had to navigate the restrictions of the studio era, Brando capitalized on a Hollywood that was shifting toward actor-driven power. He became the face of a new financial model, one where the biggest stars weren't just employees, they were partners in the blockbuster business. As Marlon Brando rewrote the rules of profit sharing, the next wave of Hollywood stars stepped in to make their own mark. By the 1980s, the industry wasn't just about prestige, it was about spectacle. Action movies were dominating the box office, and no one embodied this shift more than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Where Brando negotiated from reputation, Schwarzenegger built an empire by understanding his unparalleled appeal. Schwarzenegger's rise began with Conan the Barbarian in 1982, But it was The Terminator in 1984 that cemented his status. While his paycheck for the first film was modest, the sequel, Terminator 2: Judgment Day, skyrocketed his earnings to $15 million, and it wasn't just the cash. Schwarzenegger's contracts often included perks like private jets and luxury accommodations. He knew that his presence didn't just sell tickets, it sold the entire movie. Beyond the Terminator franchise, Schwarzenegger became a household name with hits like Commando and Predator. What set him apart wasn't just his muscular physique or larger-than-life persona. It was his ability to position himself as a brand. Studios knew audiences would flock to see him, and he leveraged that star power into some of the biggest paydays of the decade. By the end of the 1980s, Schwarzenegger wasn't just an action star, he was a global phenomenon. Arnold Schwarzenegger may have set the standard for action stars, but Sylvester Stallone was building a different kind of legacy. As Hollywood shifted into the blockbuster era, Stallone proved that real power wasn't just in starring, it was in creating. While Schwarzenegger capitalized on his image, Stallone built entire franchises that kept the box office roaring for decades. It all started in 1976 with Rocky. Stallone wasn't just the lead, he was the writer. Despite being a relative unknown, he held firm against studio pressure to cast someone else, insisting he play the role himself. That gamble paid off when Rocky became a cultural phenomenon, winning Best Picture at the Oscars. Stallone didn't just take home a paycheck, he created a franchise. By the time Rocky IV rolled around in 1985, he was commanding millions per film and earning back-end profits as both writer and producer. But Stallone didn't stop there. In 1982, he launched another iconic character with First Blood, kicking off the Rambo series. As the franchise grew, so did his paychecks, peaking at $16 million for Rambo III in 1988. What made Stallone unique wasn't just his ability to headline films, it was his control over them. By writing, directing, and producing, he ensured a bigger slice of the profits, turning his movies into personal gold mines. By the end of the 1980s, Stallone had cemented his place as one of the highest-paid actors in the world. Proof that in Hollywood, the real wealth comes from ownership. As the 1990s rolled in, Hollywood was entering a new era of stardom. The action-packed blockbusters of the 1980s had paved the way for a new breed of leading men, and Tom Cruise was at the forefront. While Stallone and Schwarzenegger focused on franchises, Cruise perfected the art of blending box office appeal with critical acclaim, securing his spot as one of the most bankable stars of all time. Cruise's defining moment came in 1996 with Mission: Impossible. Not only did he star in the film, but he also co-produced it. He ensured he had a significant stake in its success. The gamble paid off. Mission: Impossible raked in over $450 million worldwide, and Cruise walked away with more than $70 million thanks to a combination of upfront salary and back-end profits. This wasn't just a payday, it was a statement. Cruise had proven that actors could wield as much power behind the scenes as they did on screen. His $20 million per film became the industry benchmark. It solidifies the so-called 20 million club for Hollywood's elite. But Cruise didn't stop at acting. His relentless work ethic and keen eye for commercial hits kept him on top, with films like Jerry Maguire and Minority Report maintaining his streak of box office dominance. Unlike many of his peers, Cruise wasn't content to ride the wave. He wanted to control it. By the late 1990s, Cruise's career was a masterclass in how to negotiate power in Hollywood. He wasn't just collecting paychecks, he was building an empire, with his name becoming synonymous with high-stakes deals and record-breaking earnings. The Mission Impossible franchise alone cemented Cruise's reputation as the ultimate Hollywood rainmaker. It set a precedent for stars to take control of their careers in a way that few had before. Tom Cruise may have set the standard for big paychecks in the 1990s, but the 2000s introduced a new type of Hollywood power player, the franchise superstar. No one embodied this shift more than Robert Downey Jr., whose transformation from comeback kid to Marvel's MVP redefined what an actor could earn in the blockbuster era. In 2008, Iron Man marked the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, and Downey's casting as Tony Stark was seen as a risky move. For that first film, his paycheck was a modest $500,000. But the movie's massive success and Downey's pitch-perfect performance changed everything. By the time he suited up for the Avengers in 2012, Downey had negotiated a back-end deal that gave him a cut of the film's profits. The result? A $50 million payday for one movie. Downey didn't stop there. His earnings continued to climb with each Marvel installment, peaking with Avengers Endgame in 2019. For that film alone, he pocketed over $75 million, thanks to his upfront salary and profit-sharing agreement. What made Downey's rise so significant was his ability to turn a second chance into an empire. After a turbulent period in the early 2000s, he didn't just bounce back, he dominated. Downey's approach reshaped how actors approached franchise deals. He demonstrated that stars could demand a significant share of the wealth their films generated, especially when they were as integral to the brand as he was to Marvel. By the end of his MCU tenure, Downey wasn't just an actor. He was a business partner, proving that in the age of billion-dollar franchises, the richest actors were the ones who played the long game. George Clooney showed how to pivot from Hollywood heartthrob to business mogul. Clooney's suave on-screen presence in films like Ocean's 11 and Michael Clayton made him one of the most bankable stars of his era. But his biggest payday didn't come from a blockbuster. It came from a bottle. In 2013, Clooney co-founded Casamigos Tequila with friends Randa Gerber and Mike Meldman. What started as a passion project for personal consumption turned into a booming business. By 2017, the brand's popularity exploded, leading to its sale to Diageo for a staggering $1 billion. The deal made Clooney the highest-paid actor of 2018. He earned $239 million that year alone, without even stepping onto a film set. Even before his tequila empire, Clooney was no stranger to financial success. He was one of the first actors to command $20 million per film, thanks to hits like Ocean's 11 and The Perfect Storm. But his wealth-building strategies extended beyond acting. Through his production company, Smokehouse Pictures, Clooney added another revenue stream, producing critical and commercial successes like Argo. While acting brought him into the spotlight, his business ventures secured his place among the wealthiest actors of all time. While George Clooney capitalized on brand partnerships, Tyler Perry took a different route to wealth: complete ownership. Perry didn't just work within the Hollywood system, he created his own. His rise from playwright to mogul redefined what it meant to control your narrative, both creatively and financially. Perry's journey began with the Medea franchise, which debuted with Diary of a Mad Black Woman in 2005. The films, written, directed, and produced by Perry, grossed over $600 million at the box office. Unlike many stars who relied on studios, Perry owned everything: the scripts, the characters, and the profits. This ownership model ensured that every dollar his projects earned went directly into his pocket. But Perry's real financial breakthrough came with Tyler Perry Studios, a 330-acre production hub in Atlanta. Opened in 2015, the studio isn't just a filming location, it's a powerhouse for producing content. Perry rents the space to major studios, hosts award shows, and produces his own projects, turning it into a consistent revenue stream. This independence from Hollywood's traditional systems gave him the freedom to shape his career on his own terms. Today, Perry's net worth surpasses $1 billion. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, on the other hand, showed how to build a career that spanned industries. Starting as a wrestling icon in the WWE, Johnson transitioned to Hollywood with a strategy that turned his charisma into a global brand and became an unstoppable money-making machine. Johnson's first major payday came with The Scorpion King in 2002, where he earned $5.5 million for his debut as a leading man, a record at the time. From there, his career skyrocketed with the Fast and Furious franchise. His presence supercharged the series' already massive success. By the time he starred in Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, Johnson was earning $20 million per film, plus additional back-end bonuses and promotional fees tied to his personal marketing. But his Hollywood earnings are just one piece of his empire. Johnson co-founded Teremana Tequila, which quickly became a major player in the premium tequila market. He also leveraged his massive social media following, over 300 million combined followers, to negotiate multi-million-dollar endorsement deals with brands like Under Armour and Ford. His ability to directly reach fans gave him an edge in Hollywood, where social media clout increasingly translates to box office power. By the late 2010s, Johnson wasn't just an actor, he was a mogul. His blend of physical presence, charm, and business savvy made him one of the highest-paid entertainers in the world. While Dwayne Johnson built a multi-industry empire, Vin Diesel cemented his wealth through relentless franchise dominance. As the face of the Fast and Furious series, Diesel turned a single role into one of the most lucrative careers in Hollywood history, earning millions as both an actor and a producer. Diesel's breakthrough came with the original The Fast and the Furious in 2001. While his early salary wasn't extraordinary, Diesel recognized the franchise's potential. By the time Furious 7 hit theaters in 2015, his paychecks had skyrocketed to over $20 million per film. It included back-end deals that ensured he profited from the series' box office success. Diesel's producer role gave him additional control, allowing him to shape the franchise into the billion-dollar juggernaut it became. Outside of Fast and Furious, Diesel found additional success with his work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As the voice of Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy, Diesel reportedly earned millions despite having just a few lines of dialogue. His involvement with other franchises, including Riddick and XXX, further solidified his reputation as a go-to name for high-octane action. Diesel's financial strategy has always revolved around one principle: consistency. By committing to long-running franchises and taking on multiple roles, actor, producer, and marketer, he maximized his earnings while maintaining creative control. Today, Diesel is one of Hollywood's richest actors. It proves that sometimes sticking to what you do best can pay off in unimaginable ways. Blockbuster franchises might rake in billions, but Leonardo DiCaprio showed there's another way to play the game. His career wasn't built on superheroes or sequels. It was about smart choices, prestige projects, and cashing in where it counted. Everything shifted after Titanic. The role made him a global sensation and grossed over $2 billion. But DiCaprio kept his focus on long-term moves. He avoided typecasting and went after roles that gave him control and respect. By the 2010s, he wasn't just cashing $20 million checks per film, he was stacking back-end bonuses. Inception earned him around $50 million thanks to a sweet profit-sharing deal. His partnerships with Martin Scorsese weren't just creative, they were lucrative. Films like The Wolf of Wall Street and The Revenant proved that art and money could go hand in hand. For The Revenant, he walked away with his first Oscar and millions in back-end earnings. But it didn't stop there. DiCaprio added producer credits to his resume, co-founding Appian Way Productions. His company helped bankroll hits like The Aviator and Shutter Island. That extra stake in the profits? It kept his bank account growing while ensuring creative control. Leonardo DiCaprio didn't need a franchise to stay relevant or rich. He turned calculated risks into massive rewards, balancing big paydays with artistic credibility. It's a career that shows success isn't always about playing the most obvious game. Sometimes it's about playing the smartest one. Now Harrison Ford exemplified the power of timeless appeal. With a career spanning 5 decades, Ford's iconic roles in Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchises turned him into one of Hollywood's most enduring and highest-paid actors. Ford's major breakthrough came in 1977 with Star Wars: A New Hope, where he earned a modest $10,000. By the time The Force Awakens rolled out in 2015, Ford's paycheck had skyrocketed to $20 million up front, not to mention a share of the profits, pushing his earnings for the film to over $25 million. His return as Indiana Jones in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008 earned him another $65 million. Thanks to a lucrative back-end deal tied to the movie's $790 million box office haul. While many actors struggle to remain relevant, Ford's consistent ability to deliver in action-packed, nostalgia-driven roles ensured he remained a box office draw across generations. His financial success wasn't just about longevity. It was about maintaining a connection with audiences who grew up idolizing his characters. By pairing legendary franchises with smart financial negotiations, Ford secured his place as one of the richest actors in Hollywood history. His career proves that sometimes the key to success is not just reinventing yourself, but staying true to the roles that made you a star. Harrison Ford thrived on the big screen, but Jerry Seinfeld built his fortune on the small screen, turning a single sitcom into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. Seinfeld, which premiered in 1989, wasn't just a cultural phenomenon. It was a financial juggernaut, and Jerry was at the center of it all. During its final season in 1998, Seinfeld became the highest-paid TV actor of all time, earning $1 million per episode. But the real wealth came after the cameras stopped rolling. Jerry retained ownership rights to the show, allowing him to cash in on syndication and streaming deals. In 2019, Netflix paid $500 million for the global streaming rights to Seinfeld, adding another windfall to his already massive fortune. Seinfeld didn't stop at syndication. He continued to earn through stand-up comedy, book deals, and projects like Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. These netted him a reported $100 million from Netflix. His ability to monetize his brand across multiple platforms kept his earnings consistent, long after Seinfeld ended.